Hey everyone, Ben Coomber Radio, episode number 127. That's it, that's the one. I hope you all enjoyed. Mike Marler was on last week's show. We're doing really well with guests at the moment. I've got loads signed up for the upcoming shows. We've got Examine coming on. We've got Rob Wolf. It's all going off. Anyway, in the meantime, I've got the ever wonderful, beautiful, talented Rachel Guy. Rachel Guy, hello.
Hello, good morning, how are you? You're looking very sexy with your black eye this morning, Benny.
Oh yeah, only people on watching on YouTube can see this. I've had a little bit of a rugby knock and I have a right old bruiser, as they'd call it.
It's so true, like chicks dig scars and black eyes and all of that stuff.
Well, I obviously have the woman of my dreams, so it doesn't really work for me that. I've got nothing that's working for me currently with a black eye. There's just no benefit, apart from the fact that I look like a penis.
Does Lizzie like it, or does she think you're an idiot?
She thinks I'm an idiot.
Because to be fair, when my other half comes home with black eyes from MMA, I say to him, what the hell have you done? So it's funny, like on a stranger, it's like, oh, he's got a black eye, he's a badass. But when it happens to be your other half, you're like, you're such an idiot.
Well, it's like, I haven't done a seminar for a while. I haven't had the important meetings for a couple of weeks. And I had a seminar and 3 important meetings back to back within 3 days. And I had to turn up with a black eye. And I was like going on the tube, travelling up on the train. And people like shy away. They think you're some kind of like monster. And I'm like, honestly, I just bumped into someone's head. And unfortunately, I have a black eye.
You can imagine what the girls are like then in Wimps to Warrior that I'm training at the moment. So they're, when guys have black eyes, it's one thing, but when a chick has got a black eye, and most of the time, like they're not even sparring yet. We're only a month into series 3, but a few of them have taken a few knocks already. So when you start rolling, like elbows go everywhere. There's heels going everywhere, knees going everywhere. You don't know where they're gonna land. So it's interesting. As a female, I've had one black eye once, and let's just say it looks even worse when you try and put makeup on it. So you just got to wear it with pride. And if people are brave enough to say anything, then you've got to say, oh, actually, it's a sporting injury.
You said heels. Why would you do MMA in high heels?
No, like they're not high heels. Oh, God.
Oh, pulling your shade. Oh.
Actually, it was about this time last year I choked you out. Let's just talk about that again because I'm really still reveling in it.
Oh, look at me. I choked you out. Great. We'll skip over that. Look, I'll be honest. MMA isn't my forte. You kicked my ass. Come down and roll around with an egg, and I'll kick your ass.
Okay, because I used to play rugby at university, so I probably still got the skills somewhere.
You probably still beat me, to be fair. Yeah, I'm useless.
No, you're probably faster than me now. I used to play on the winger at fullback, so I used to be really fast. I was probably about 10 kilos lighter back then as well, mind. And my sole purpose of playing rugby was I had quite good ball skills, and my sole purpose was to just make sure that I didn't get tackled because I was playing against some girls who were much bigger than me. So yeah, I just remember like looking back, you just have those moments in time where everything just kind of goes in slow motion. I had this one chick running towards me, and it was one of those like really cold days where when you breathe, like the steam comes out. I don't get that in Australia anymore, so it's kind of a novel thing. And it was like her running towards me in slow motion. Like she had this like steam coming out her nose and stuff, and I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? My mother's gonna kill me.
I think that's a cool sight though when you're watching a game like when it's like that and it's cold and all the players are running around and you're hot. So you're standing on the side as a spectator and there's this heat off the pitch and off the players. I think that looks so cool.
So cool. Man, I miss the UK so much sometimes. Anyway, I digress. We've got some pretty cool questions today, so we should probably crack on with those.
Yeah, let's crack on. Let's do it.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so this first question is from Seafood Dunn, aka Natural Born Cavewoman on Instagram.
Wow.
Hello, Ben. Thank you for contacting me on Instagram and encouraging me to write in with my question. You actually beat me to the punch as it was on my to-do list today anyway. This week, I listened to your latest podcast with celebrity chef Pete Evans, good old Aussie. I particularly enjoyed his podcast as I'm an avid fan of the Paleo Principle, even though not evangelic about it. I also find it wholly beneficial to structuring my own nutritional plans and that of my clients. I'm a competitive powerlifter coming from a very long history of eating disorders. Both powerlifting and Paleo Principles have been instrumental in my long journey of restoring my mind, body, and spirit back to total health. I've always been shocked by the sort of comments that I've received in the past via social media when I talk openly about Paleo Principles. I have my feet firmly in the powerlifting world, and I have had several competitive lifters call me up on how unbalanced and suboptimal my choice of nutritional planning is to my training. I was so overjoyed to learn that a man of such passion for learning and teaching people to live optimally has such a large public platform. We need people like you, Rachel, Pete, and Jamie Oliver, who have large social followings to spread the word of good old-fashioned dietary common sense. I do my utmost to reach as many people as I can, but I have no such public platform yet. Pete was also talking about his respect for Jamie Oliver and what Jamie has done in the world for opening the doorways into good nutritional health and getting families cooking again. I liked how he described Jamie as being an instigator and opening doors for people like us to take things to another level. How much of an activist do I sound? I learned via the interview that Jamie has gone on publicly to denounce paleo via his site. I cannot totally see why he would have, although I do not share the same. I can totally see why he would have, although I do not share the same opinion. As my opinion, to remove food groups from the standard diet if they were making people sick. Towards the end of your podcast, I think Pete's speakers played up, and I believe he may have accidentally interrupted you when you were trying to elaborate and share your thoughts on this topic, and I would love to hear what you have to say. I value your educated opinion massively. I would also like take this opportunity to thank you very much for your informed, inspirational, and well-balanced podcasts. I look forward to every week as they have been a tremendously helpful resource in my ongoing education as a coach. I very much respect your shares and opinions, and I particularly admire your balanced approach to interviews and your ability to crystallize what has been said and relate the information back to your listeners. Keep up the hard work, Ben. You are making a difference, and I'm very hopeful that I will secure a place on your academy this February. If I don't achieve a place, you may find that you have yourself a stalker. Just saying. Peace, CV Dunn, aka the natural born cave woman.
Well, it's past February, so hopefully you did get a place on the academy, and I don't get involved much in the Foundation Academy, but I will see you more on the April Academy, because that is a bit more my thing and how it works. Anyway, Pete was a great guest, and towards the end of the show, we lost a bit of the sound quality. He was travelling through London and doing the show on his just 3G signal, so it was a bit problematic in parts, but that's what I needed to do to get the interview. So there it is. Do you know what? I think Pete has done a very noble thing in Australia, and he's doing great work, and he's changing a huge amount of lives. And I hope we all agree on this podcast that paleo is a hugely beneficial movement when you compare it to most of the other diet concepts that are out there. No diet concept out there is perfect. The way it's set up, it excludes something, it tells you not to do something, it's dogmatic in some area, and that's what makes a diet stick, right? That's what enables mainstream media to latch onto it and run with it. Mainstream media can't do a lot with, do you know what, the answer is just eat a balanced diet, make sure your protein's correct, make sure you exercise intelligently, etc., etc., all the stuff that we know. The media can't really do that, hasn't got enough juice, so diet concepts have to be brought around. So, for Jamie Oliver, who's just trying to get into school and teach kids and all the rest of it, for him to kind of follow a similar suit, I would say it would dangerously damage his brand. His brand is about just balance, picking up real food, cooking, connecting with people, making food a social occasion, which I think is amazing. And as soon as he starts to, pick up any terminology and say, well, I'm kind of paleo, or whatever it might be, whatever he chooses to deem it. If he goes into a school and is in a class of 12 people, that just makes the translation of his information even more problematic, even more. He's got, the kids are going to start asking questions about one thing, and then they've got to then grow up with this dogmatism around, oh, I need to eat like the paleo way, where he's just trying to say, just eat natural foods. That's it. Have some sweet things now and again. Don't be an idiot about it. And really, I would say his approach is probably better than Pete's. Pete, I respect what he's doing, but there's a little bit more dogmatism around it, and there's some beliefs there where we would kind of say, well, that is true in a certain section of the population, but it's not true for everyone, and we need to be kind of aware of that. I don't know how you feel, Rachel.
100%. And it's funny, like, it's something that I have in, for my girls in my membership sites in particular. People question why I have honey, and sometimes I tell my girls to actually add brown sugar to, some salad dressings and stuff. And, I'm called up on this all the time on my forums saying, Rachel, why is there like 2 teaspoons of honey or 2 teaspoons of brown sugar in your, I thought you were sugar free. And I said, well, hang on a minute, let's get real here. So 2 teaspoons of brown sugar in for example, a salad dressing, which is designed to serve 6 to 8 people. How much sugar do you really think you're getting from that? It's not like you're adding 2 teaspoons of sugar to your coffee 3 times a day. We're talking about such minimal amounts here that we're adding value to food by adding flavor. And I don't think that that's a bad thing. And the reality is that little bits of sugar here and there, and, sweets, or, natural sweets here and there, it's not a bad thing. Like, people are so obsessed nowadays. And that's one thing that does actually come out in this podcast later on is the obsession with looking at things way too closely and forgetting that life is about living and really starting to enjoy yourself. So I'm very much a big fan of Jamie Oliver. I actually listen to Pete's podcast as well. I respect and I appreciate what he's doing. I think that there's some great stuff with with the paleo movement. Personally, I don't subscribe to it. I subscribe to more of a natural whole food source. I'm not particularly exclusive in my nutrition unless somebody's got severe food intolerances. So I'm very much in the same mindset as you, Ben.
This is why I think the podcast I did with Nate Mayaki is such a key podcast, because I think we really got down into the crux of all this by saying we're all agreeing about macronutrients, micronutrients, food sources, food quality. None of us are saying not to. But on the other side of it, there's people that are beating the drum for this if it fits your macros approach to nutrition, which we have to appreciate is people saying, there's all these foods that we want to eat, and we know that there's a limit to where and when we should eat these foods. But if we control how and when these foods come into our diet, we can both control the body composition outcome or maintenance of our goals and to satisfy the personal pleasures that we want out of food and in a social environment. Now, there's people that sit on different extremes of that fence. I know people that are 100% will call it clean food all the time, and I would argue that a little bit of flexibility of other foods in there is probably going to see them. I'm not going to say enjoy, because I don't want to say what people do and can't, can and can't enjoy. That's people's own personal preferences. But for example, we had a big conversation on Facebook a while ago about, I posted about alcohol, and I talked about my personal alcohol consumption. And, people were like, oh my God, the same with you with the honey thing and salad dressings. People were like, oh my God, I can't believe you drink. And I was like, hang the fuck on, right? I said, I'm not so angelical about my nutrition that I don't enjoy beer. Same with wine, same with a little bit of liquor sometimes. But I drink probably a glass of wine on a Friday night when I'm out for dinner, a couple of beers after the game for rugby, and then sometimes we might go out during the week and I might want a beer, might have a glass of wine, sometimes I will, sometimes I won't. And people were like, oh, it's toxic and stuff, and I was like, I get that. I know my liver's got to digest it. I know there's bad monsters in there, but I've accounted for it. I know a pint of beer is around 180 calories. I know a glass of wine, their calories. I know the calories in liquor. So I can sit there and go, well, I'm going to have a beer. I'll factor it in. Nice one. I know that if I have about 4 beers, I'm going to push it with how good I'm going to feel the next day. But I know with like 3 beers, I'm going to be absolutely fine as long as I have a pint or 2 of water in and around those beers to help the alcohol flush through the liver. So that's my personal balance. And I am 100% happy with people sitting here going, that's non-optimal. I know it's non-optimal. I know that there's different ways that we can cut and slice this. And actually, when we talk about alcohol, it seems that moderate consumption of alcohol, people live longer. Now, why that is, we're not 100% sure. There's different caveats to that. Do they live a more balanced lifestyle? Is it because of some of the beneficial properties in alcohol? Who knows? I would say it's an incomplete picture. But these are my personal choices, and I believe that because I do things 90% of the time well, and I sleep well, my hormonal function's good, I'm happy, my work life is very productive, my sex life is good, all those components that we look at for life, I have no reason to question the non-optimal areas of my health. If you're sat there telling me all this stuff, and then you're like, oh, well, I don't sleep that well, and I can then be dogmatic about what you're doing in your diet because it's no longer optimal for the outcomes that you want.
Look, I'm exactly the same. Like I love, hey, I'm a Welsh girl. So the reality is that I like a glass of wine now and then. You know what? Sometimes I kind of like a bottle of vodka now and then, and throw in a bottle of champagne as well, because I don't do it every weekend. I tend to I love a good thrash. Let's be honest here. There's nothing better than going out on a piss with your friends. But I don't do it very often. I probably only go out and I have a really good thrash now, probably like 2 or 3 times a year. Usually when I'm back in the UK, when I'm in London, or when I'm visiting my bear, Vegas, that sort of thing. Like, I like a good thrash. Like, it's good fun. And that's part of my balanced lifestyle. The rest of my time is spent, of course, I have a few glasses of red wine during the week, maybe again, like you on a Friday night, or, on a Saturday if I'm out for dinner somewhere. If I'm preparing for a shoot or an event, then, I've gone now 8 weeks without any alcohol at all. So it is about balance. Red wine in particular to me is very much it's something I really enjoy, and it's like, to me, it's like food. It's one of the 7 wonders of the world. It's a very much a connector, and it's part of it's part of the happiness thing, I guess. And it's all right, it's suboptimal, but to be honest, I'd be miserable if I wasn't allowed a glass of red wine now and then, and a couple of vodkas here and there. I don't think I'd like to live like that, and that's okay. And it's okay if people don't want to drink. So it's yeah.
So here's another different point. One of the comments I got when I put this Facebook thread up was, what someone said. A couple of people were like, "Why do you feel you need alcohol?" And this is the amazing thing about Facebook. At no point did I say I need it. I said I enjoy it. So I made a personal statement about my enjoyment, and people read what they want out of it. And this is why people contextualize and fit your comments into their own paradigm of thinking. Detract away from your paradigm of thinking. That's not what I said. Now, I'll give you an example. I went to the dentist yesterday, and I have to spend the next 2 weeks with night braces on to whiten my teeth because I'm getting loads of fillings and work done, and they want to match all the work up. So I'm doing 2 weeks of trying to get the fillings up to the same colour and stuff. And of course, the lady in the dentist chair was like, right, for the next 2 weeks, it would work a lot better if you avoided wine, curries, tea, coffee, chocolate, and anything else that would potentially stain the teeth because it's a strong colour and odour. I was like, 100%. So I walked out of the dentist chair and I was like, oh, okay, not going to be able to have a glass of red wine on Sunday. It's a bit unfortunate, but whatever. And that was it. It was whatever. So as soon as that changes, when someone else goes, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to have coffee for breakfast, I'm not going to be able to do this, that's completely different. There's like some kind of emotional or psychological need to have that because it is filling a void or something in your life. This point in time, I'm like, whatever. I can't have wine, whatever. I'll have a glass of white wine instead. I'll not have any. I won't have a coffee in the morning. I'm not bothered. I'd quite like to, but I'm not that bothered. And really, that's the difference. Yeah, rant over.
Next question. I think we both agree. We both like a glass of red wine.
Yeah. And it doesn't make me a bad person.
Are you going to read this question to me, or am I going to read this question to you?
Oh yeah.
It's a girl's question.
Yeah. Right. Okay. One for the ladies. Here comes Mr. Smooth. Hi Ben and Rachel, thanks for all the great information you guys are giving out to us. I've listened to every episode of the podcast and I've learned a massive amount about nutrition and health. This is a question for Rachel, please. You've mentioned before on the podcast that you have recovered from adrenal fatigue twice, and I'd like to ask how you personally overcame it and got your health back on track. Did you stop training completely until you recovered? How long did it take for you to feel better? Did you completely change your lifestyle? After overtraining, undereating, and years of chronic emotional stress, starting from childhood, which I'm now 32, I have been experiencing adrenal fatigue symptoms. These include waking through the night and waking up early, depression, anxiety, extreme tiredness, low libido, and also absent menstrual cycle. I had a lab test done through a practitioner and this confirmed that I had extremely low cortisol throughout the day and high, in comparison, cortisol in the evening. My sex hormones were all extremely low. Over the last year I've gained a stone and I was underweight and I'm now at a health weight body fat level. I'm assuming that is meant to mean healthy. So she's at a healthy weight and body fat level. I took a month off training at the beginning, then started back weight training once a week, and now I do 2 weight training sessions per week and I stay active the rest of the time, looking after my 3-year-old. I've been taking pregnenolone and DHEA drops, licorice drops first thing in the morning, and adrenal support supplement to help my recovery. Even though I've taken all these positive steps, I'm still feeling pretty rubbish. My energy levels are better, but my anxiety and depression is still a problem. I still have no sex drive and my periods have not yet returned. I also still wake up between 4 a.m. and 4:30 a.m. some mornings. I'm just wondering if there is any more I can do to help myself. It would be great to hear your experience. Thanks for your help, Tina.
This is something that's very, very common, and I'll tell you a little bit first of all about my adrenal fatigue and what happens first off. And I mean, I don't want to use the word diagnosed, but I guess I identified that there was an issue after I left university. And my final year of university, I attribute the fact that I'm a perfectionist by trait, and I'm a Virgo, so I like things to be done in a particular way, and I put a lot of stress and pressure on myself. And I always have done since I was very young to have things a particular way. This leads to a lot of internal stresses, and I wouldn't say anxiety, just a lot of pressure on yourself. When I left, I actually really enjoyed my degree, studying physiotherapy. And when I graduated and I actually started working as a physio, I identified quite early on that I wasn't enjoying the work. I didn't like the hours of work. Like, I was being forced into work at 7:30 in the morning. I wasn't leaving probably until about 5 o'clock at night. I wouldn't say the work was particularly stressful. I had long work hours and I was working a lot for a 21-year-old. I was working on intensive care, and I also had some of the cardiorespiratory wards as well. So my first rotation was in cardiorespiratory, and I wasn't stimulated by the work. And that was causing a lot of internal anxiety for me. I had a lot of work on, but I wasn't enjoying it. It wasn't stimulating enough. It didn't excite me. I didn't get up in the morning really excited to go to work, and I wasn't keen to learn. In addition to that, at the time, my IBS was really, really bad through university. I lost a lot of weight. By the time I left university after my final exams, I was 48 kilos. So I was very thin. I pretty much survived on a diet, as you do at university, of very little. And I lost a lot of weight in the last 2 months in particular through stress of obviously doing my finals. So all of these things combined, they all were all attributing factors to, the fact that I got myself into that state in the first place. It was around that time, I probably lasted about just under a year working as a physio. And I remember coming home at Christmas and my mother hit the roof. She was like, "You're too thin, you're looking very stressed, you're always anxious all the time, you're always fighting with your brothers," which I still fight with my brothers, but that's irrelevant. And it was at that time, I remember being on holiday in Dubai and I was thinking, God, what do I want to do with my life? I'm really miserable. I'm really unhappy. And I was depressed. I wouldn't say I was clinically depressed, but I was going through a pretty miserable stage. Again, I had very low sex drive, wasn't interested in anything in particular. Nothing really excited me. And that's when I realized I had a problem. So how did I get myself out of that the first time round? Well, pretty big steps. I kind of quit my job. I moved back home I was living and working in Birmingham at the time where I went to university, moved back home into the family nest for a good 6 to 8 months. My mum fed me and I just took some time out, to be honest. I know it's probably not very helpful for Tina if she's got a 3-year-old child, but this is what I did first time around. I really took some time out. And I really took time to really establish what I wanted to do with my life. It was at that stage in September that I came to Australia for the first time. And I have no idea what on earth possessed me to come over here, other than the fact that, one of my best friends had been over here and told me that there was pretty hot guys over here. So I was like, nah, fuck it, I'm packing my bags, I'm going to Australia. So that I did. And funny, I haven't looked back since. But it's one of those things that I changed my lifestyle and I took a break, and that was the first time around. Second time around was pretty much towards actually the end of last year. So last year was a very big year work-wise for me. I identified in probably October time that I was starting to feel quite shit. Nothing was really exciting me anymore. I was very tired all the time and very, very similar patterns to Tina there, where I was wide awake between 2 and 3:30 every morning, literally wide awake. I may as well just get up and do something. How did I recover from that? I kind of got the work done that I needed to get done. I took a break. I took a month off. I took a month off work over Christmas, and that was planned work. And moving on from that now, I've identified that my lifestyle needs to change. So how I manage things now is that I've realized that when I'm in Sydney, my life is crazy. I do work extremely long hours. There is a lot of pressure on me to get things done and to do them well. So I take what I call holidays, which is a mini holiday. And I don't feel bad about it because whereas most people work 9 to 5, I tend to be up at sort of 4:30 or 5 o'clock every morning. And I generally don't stop working until 9:30 at night. So when I take then 4 or 5 days off here and there, I don't feel so bad about it. And I go away. I'll go up to the Gold Coast, or I'll go down to Melbourne to see friends, or I'm going to Tasmania in March with my other half. And we just, so I have these planned time. So I'll do sort of 6 to 8 weeks of solid work, and I know I've got something at the end of it. And that's really how now I manage my stress levels. And I try also not to work on the weekends. Did I stop training? No, I don't. Training for me is a love, and I certainly, do I reduce the volume of training during very stressful periods? Yes, I do. So Tina, what you're doing now is fine. Going to the gym 3 times a week. I do usually 3 times a week, and I don't really stress about it. If I don't feel like training, then I'll just go for a walk. I think the biggest thing, and the thing that I see most commonly with women with adrenal fatigue, is they put so much pressure on themselves. Tina, I don't know very much about you. You've got a 3-year-old child. I don't know if you're working full time, but there are certain personality traits that attribute to adrenal fatigue, in addition to excessive diet and low calorie nutrition. So, generally, if I have somebody come to me with adrenal fatigue or any form of metabolic damage or metabolic dysfunction, one of the first things that I do with them is I do not stop them exercising, but we'll change the form of exercise and we will reduce the volume. I usually subscribe to a eat less, exercise less model. And Dr. Jay Tita talks a lot about this with his company, The Metabolic Effect. And there are several ways in which you can go about it. I have found what works for me is the eat less, exercise less model. So if I'm in a very stressful period, I exercise slightly less and I eat slightly less. And then when I'm starting to feel a bit better and my sleep is a bit more under control and I start exercising more, then I also eat more. So in terms of that, it's just general common sense. How long did it take to feel better and how long? Again, I'll be honest, both times. The first time around, it was about 6 months, 6 to 12 months. And I only really started to feel better when I started having some fun. I started relaxing, started going out with friends a lot more, stopped worrying about what other people thought, stopped worrying about, was I going to get fat from this, or was I going to lose muscle from going out? And, bear in mind, I was 21 at the time. So I was going through a phase of really trying to put on some muscle. And I was really concerned that alcohol was going to make my hard-earned muscles shrink. And it was only when I got really to Australia and I started making friends and I started having fun in the gym and I started adding things into my diet that were suboptimal, like alcohol and, a few pizzas here and there, that I realized that actually life is about living and not about counting calories, and it's not about how shredded you can be. Because if I'm really honest, some of the most miserable people that I've worked with have also been the leanest people that I've worked with, which is kind of sad. So I guess just to finish off is one of the things that I learned very early on in my career from Paul Chek was he talks about the 4 doctors in life, and that's Dr. Diet, Dr. Quiet, Dr. Movement, and Dr. Happiness. And if you're out of balance in one of these areas, you need to essentially go and visit one of these doctors. So Dr. Diet being, going back to your roots of making sure that you're eating nourishing whole foods from nutritional sources. Dr. Quiet, I need to visit Dr. Quiet a lot because I don't have a lot of quiet time in my life. I don't have a lot of rest and relaxation. I listened to the radio today because I've been in the car a lot. My God, what a bunch of fucking dribbles on there. I've just realised why I don't listen to it. But, instead, I had a bit of quiet time. I actually turned off the radio and I was kind of singing to myself, which was actually probably worse in hindsight, but felt good at the time. Dr. Movement. Dr. Movement is, are you moving too much or are you moving too little? And are you doing too much cardio? Are you doing too much weight training? Because one of the missing elements in training is that people talk about excessive cardio is bad for you because it raises cortisol levels. Well, guess what? Excessive weight training does exactly the same thing. So we shouldn't just, we shouldn't negate the fact that weight training elevates cortisol levels, because it does. But also Dr. Happiness. And a lot of people forget to be happy and they forget what makes them happy. And a lot of people don't know what makes them happy. So another little exercise that I do with my girls who are, actually and my guys who go through a phase like this is really identify what makes you happy. And they will find that it's quite difficult to write a list of the things that make them happy. So I'll first of all start with, okay, list of things that make you unhappy. So the things that make you happy might be things like lying in the sun, watching your 3-year-old, try and eat his or her foods, because it's quite entertaining watching your child eat. It might be, driving the car down a sunny street with your window open, like just something small like that. Identify all of the things that make you happy, and it can be trivial things. Start writing these things down, and then start focusing on them. And finally, just to wrap things up, one of the biggest healers of all is writing a gratitude journal. So writing 10 things every night of things that you are genuinely grateful for that have happened during the day. Write them down with a pen and paper, not on an iPad or on an iPhone. Writing down the things you are genuinely grateful for, and then reading them first thing in the morning, because that also starts to alter and change your mindset.
It was really frustrating the whole way through that, because I kept thinking of how I wanted to then re-comment on what you'd commented, and then every time you said something else, I was like, oh, and I want to, yeah, and what about this, and the way you summed up for me was perfect, because you talked a lot about knowing what makes you happy, but sometimes instead of trying to find what makes you happy, you mentioned on the last point, which was the gratitude log, was just allowing happiness in. And you got to do that by getting all the negativity out, or trying to box, compartmentalize, and deal with the negativity. So, like, one of the only, and I will package it as negativity, is that one of the only things probably in yours and mine lifestyle alike is the time and the amount of stuff that we sort of take on and have to do on a daily basis, and the amount of people we have to talk to, and kind of the business element of running your own business and being sort of busy. That can be a negative because it's got to be dealt with. But once we bring systems into play and deal with that, and then focus on the positives, like you said, write a gratitude log. So you actually sit down and write down and go, oh, today I'm really grateful for my daughter. She makes me laugh so much when she eats and blows milk out her nose. I don't know, whatever it might be. So you actually sit there and you realise to yourself, actually that stuff really makes me happy. And I remember towards like Christmas time, where I was getting busy, really, really busy with work, too busy, and you mentioned a similar thing, I was finding the smaller things in life that I usually find enjoyable a bit more of a burden. So everything was starting to become negative. It creates this catch-22 cycle where you're trying to be happy and engaged in an environment you should be, but you just can't. And you can't really fathom why. And I think it's purely because we take on too much. There's too much in our environment. We're kind of multitasking too much, and the brain only has a certain amount of capacity. For example, there is no such thing as multitasking. It's just being very good at switching from one task to the other. Multitasking essentially doesn't exist. So there's only so many tasks that we can switch from one to the other and remain at a capacity where we can deal with all of those tasks in an adequate way. So yeah, I think, but the only thing I wanted to add to your advice to Tina was that you need to give this longer. So some of the things that have already improved are the things that allow that usually do change in a short period of time. The things that do take a lot longer is your libido, so your hormones need to allow themselves to re-regulate them and regain normal function, and your periods, your menstrual cycle. So you need to give it a bit more time. Before this, you said that you're actually underweight, so that indicates to me that you are under eating for quite a long period of time. So you have a slow metabolic rate. You need to bring your calories back up over a period of time and nourish yourself. And that takes a lot of time. Let's say someone works hard at screwing their adrenals up over 10 years. It's not going to take 2 to 3 months to rehab them. It just doesn't work like that. You've got 10 years of damage to undo, and it might take 6, 9, 12, 18 months. So I think apply what Rachel said. Give it more time. Make sure you're breaching your calorie status and you're eating enough. Allow happiness in, and I think good things will happen.
I'm just going to mention 2 books here as well, which have been awesome. I actually read them. Funny enough, I read them towards the end of last year, and same as you, Ben. Towards the end of last year, it was just manic, and I did, yeah. These books really helped me. I actually have them in audiobook, but I've read them and sort of underlined bits as well. But the first one is called The One Thing. And it's quite simply about the one thing, doing one thing at a time. And for somebody who is a perfectionist and, people who have that sort of form of a trait with whether it be adrenal fatigue or doing something and doing too much of it. The One Thing is a great book, and it's by I think it's by a chap called Gary Keller.
Okay.
And then there's another book as well called Essentialism, and it's about the pursuit of being disciplined in what is essential. So you can be busy, but are you being productive? So, we talk about above the line and below the line activities. Like the above the line activities are those that are productive towards a particular goal. And below the line activities are you just busy being busy. And I think that is by a guy called Gary McEwen. Greg or Gary McEwen. So there's, The One Thing and Essentialism. Wicked books. Wicked books.
Dang. They're good.
They're good books.
I've just bought one of them on Amazon. And I'm now about to find the other one. Essentialism.
Essentialism is like there's a quote from Essentialism and it's classic. It's like, if you're, sometimes when you sat on a fence and you're not sure about something, I usually go with my gut feeling, but sometimes my gut doesn't come through straight away and give me an answer. So the reality is this, and this is a quote from Essentialism, and it is something around the lines of, if the answer isn't a definite yes, then it's a certain no. I like that. If it's not definite yes straight away, it's a certain no.
Yeah, nice. I read a quote this morning by Warren Buffett that said the most successful people in life say no nearly all the time.
That's actually, I'm going to add that to Tina. Learn to say no. Yeah. It is the most powerful word in the English dictionary for a woman. Learn to say no in many aspects of your life. But particularly if you're, recovering from adrenal fatigue, saying no is so powerful. So powerful.
Some great advice there. Pay attention, people.
Should we get on to this last question? This is a very long one.
Yeah, it was addressed to your email originally. Do you want me to read it or do you want to read it?
Whatever, because I think we're both going to answer this. So I'll read it. You can summarize it and reply to it because it's a long one. Okay. So let's get into it. Dear Ben and Rachel, I listen to your podcast and read anything of yours that I can get my hands on. I so appreciate your balanced take on all things nutrition and fitness. I know you hear a lot from struggling people, and I'm no exception. I admire the grace in which you handle questions. You really do come from a place of compassion and understanding instead of looking down on somebody. You really meet people where they are. I'm studying to become a personal fitness coach, and I cannot tell you how indispensable your podcasts are and how they are shaping my thought process, more so than the course I'm taking. It is a dream one day to do your course, Ben. So thank you very much for all that you do and all that you offer to the health and fitness world. Fat loss seems to be utterly elusive for me as I'm reaching the end of my rope. I refuse to believe it is not possible for me. I've been fighting for a very long time, but to be honest, I don't know where else to turn, what to tweak, what to add in, or what to take out. I do not want to resign myself to be carrying around an extra 30 pounds of fat for the rest of my life. I'm so blessed to be able to do so much, and I'm pretty strong. And I know I have extra fat that is not healthy. And let's be honest, it doesn't look great either. I would be thrilled to get to even 25% body fat. I have no aspirations of body fat in the teens, wearing a bikini, etc. I have a husband who adores me no matter what, and I think I'm pretty awesome too. I just need to drop the fat. A little bit of a history. I'm a 48-year-old woman, 5'2", 175 pounds. I'm very muscular, but my body fat is around 38%. I understand that scales and calipers are not totally accurate, but it gives you an idea. Trust me when I say there's lots of fat. I have 9 children as well as 6 babies in heaven. I homeschool, and my husband and I run 2 businesses, and I'm very active in learning about health, nutrition and fitness, and I have been for years. My body has been through a lot. For over 20 years, I was either pregnant or breastfeeding or both. Except for 2 extremely low-calorie diets, I have been between 175 to 200 pounds not pregnant. I hate the mindset that I'm the only one who struggles with this, but is it possible that my situation is unique, given all the pregnancies and breastfeeding, etc.? Or has this taken an irreversible toll? And possibly, do I need some special form of a plan? In 2009, I had severe adrenal exhaustion and I was literally sick in bed for over 10 months. But the years leading up to that, that I was sick, I just didn't know what it was, and I pushed and pushed and pushed until I could not push anymore. I have since recovered well, though looking at my life, I can see I'm very busy and there's a tremendous amount of stress, even though I try my best to manage it. For the last 3 years, I've been eating super clean. Even before that, we were very much Western A price type eating. When I had completely cleaned up my diet, I took out grains and such. I lost 20 pounds in a year. That was it. Then I went low carb, ketogenic. Now I know better. And I lost close to 17 pounds in a whole year. Very slow and almost non-existent at times. So in 3 years, I've lost 40 pounds, which is great. But I have fought tooth and nail for it. Having tendencies to perfectionism, I've never cheated, ever. I just don't. You give a rule and I'll follow it. No eating at night, big breakfasts, proper protein, low carbs, good fats, no snacking. I've been the same weight now for 7 months. I have since lightened up, and since listening to you guys, I've gotten free from the perfectionism. I live in the real world and almost always eat on plan, but I do allow for the occasional treat, as in a handful of tortilla chips here and there. I've also included things like oatmeal and sweet potatoes, etc. I have also increased my calories on your advice from 1,100 when I was ketogenic to close to 1,500 to 1,700 now. Good news, as I'm maintaining. Bad news is that I still have a tremendous amount of fat. I've been working out now for over a year, a bit haphazardly as I'm learning as I go, but I definitely lift heavy. I do some high-intensity interval workouts, walk in the summer, spring and fall. I'm pretty active, at least with my workouts. I work out 4 to 5 days a week, and honestly, not super intense, but I'm still giving it what feels like to be my all. I leave the gym sweaty and red-faced. I feel like I go 2 steps forward, push and do all-out workouts for a few weeks, and then hurt my back or hips and need to recover for a few weeks. I do know that I do know that I have a bit of a deep pit to dig myself out of. Years of not exercising, all of the pregnancies, improper nutrition, especially when my body was giving it all to making healthy babies. For all I know, a year of exercising, and I'm barely at beginner level, so lots of rebuilding to do for sure. I have been focusing on mobility and the real foundational work to strengthen my core and posterior chain, etc., in hopes not to get injured so much. Weekly appointment with a chiro is quite expensive. I sit here and try and sum up to tell you what I know. I feel like I hear your voices advising others. It just seems that I have done all of that and more. I'm currently, for the last 2 months, training less and eating more. I figured, that's something I've never tried before. Still, no fat loss. Is there any hope for me? Is there people out there who've got this far, who've gone this far and can never safely or smartly lose the body fat? I know I could do some stupid HCG diet and lose weight, but I want to lose fats. Sorry, I've just lost the last line now off my printer. Have you got the email there, Ben? I've just lost the last line off my printer.
I know I could do some stupid HCG diet and lose weight, but I want healthy fat loss, not lean body mass loss. Been there, done that. What is there left to do that I've not done? 48-year-old female, 175 pounds. Diet is 15 to 1700 calories, 120 to 150 grams of protein, carbs about 50 to 60 a day. Try to time around my workout, but not always. Exercise 4 to 5 times a week. Please help. I really do not know where else to turn for someone who is so educated in diet, but I have no idea to fix myself. What good am I going to be to others? Keep up the awesome work. Blessings, Michelle. So, like, my overriding thoughts on all of this is, please help. I don't know where else to turn. For someone who's so educated in diet, I have no idea how to fix myself. Then stop trying. Reach out to someone and ask someone else to help fix you. You're going to see a chiropractor to fix your back. I can imagine you go and see a physio if you pulled a muscle. You have no idea what your diet's doing. You're hormonally downregulated. Go and find someone that can help this. Go and find a good, high-quality nutritional therapist, functional medicine practitioner that can delve deep and sort this kind of stuff out. Just to give all the other listeners some info, any other questions that come into us along these lines, we're no longer going to answer, because I'm going to sum it up again. I did sum it up recently, but I'm going to give it one more shot, in that when you've been through a lot, your body's been screwed up, it's had years of stress, it's had years of damage, you're hormonally downregulated, your libido's low, you're not sleeping properly, all that kind of stuff. You need to take time. You have to be patient. I cannot dress it up any other way, and I cannot reassure you that it's going to take 2 months, 4 months, 6 months. I don't know. The important thing is everyone has to eat enough. If you want to be really healthy, high-performing, happy, sleep well, have a good sex drive, you have to eat enough. I did some quick calculations while Rachel was talking, and I reckon her BMR is probably around 1,600 calories minimum, her BMR. She's got kids, she's running around, she's got a business, there's stress, she's training hard 4 to 5 days a week. I can imagine Michelle needs to be eating at least 2,200 to 2,600 calories a day. Now, I'm sorry, you need to lose the goal of fat loss because you're not healthy. Everyone listening, you need to be healthy. You need to be in a good place before you decide that fat loss is a realistic goal, because your body has to be in a homeostatic state. It has to be balanced. It has to know that stress is low. It has to know that it can deal with the next stress. And that next stress is a calorie deficit. A calorie deficit for the body isn't a walk in the park. It has to deal with it. It has to stimulate different hormones, has to mobilize energy. It's not in an optimal state. So Michelle, I think you should maybe seek the help of someone else. I think you should maybe get your hormones tested to know where you are. At least to maybe get a cortisol test, and use that cortisol test as a barometer of how your health is now going to change. It's quite easily done. You do it with your a saliva reading 4 times a day. Get that test done and then retest it in like 2 months' time. And then get it done like every 2 or 3 months and find what you're changing. You need to eat more. You need to address your stress. You maybe need to maybe even read the book that Rachel mentioned on her last podcast, because by the sounds of it, you are a very good multitasker. You've learned to have to be. You've got kids. You run businesses with your husband. You're studying to become a fitness coach. There's loads going on, and perhaps you've just got 1 or 2 things that is just pushing you over the edge. You're being strong and you're staying strong because you're disciplined, etc. But that doesn't mean it's ideal. It doesn't mean it's optimal. Just because you're being strong and you are strong doesn't mean there isn't a better way. And I think being a bit more narrow-minded, being a little bit more selfish, focusing on the things that have to be done is the only way that you're really going to get a handle on all of this stuff.
And Michelle, I know you emailed me, well, you emailed my team. If you want to, I'm not sure if you're in Australia, if you are in Australia and you need somebody for testing, then please email me again so that I can refer you to somebody here who can do all sorts of functional medicine tests on you, run some hormonal panels on you, and make sure that you get the right blood tests done.
Yeah. So I'm going to leave that there because I think that is all the advice that Michelle needs. And then anyone else that's thinking that they're in a similar place, that they need a lot of work to get out, take time, get your calories right, get your stress right. There's no magic answer, and if you can't solve it, pay for a coach, because you're going to have to. That's it. That's the crux of it. You know, I'm going to pimp my coaches here right now in the UK. I've trained them all to be incredible coaches. They were all incredible coaches to start with. But all of these guys know about stress, they know about calories, they know about how to help you. They're going to cost you around £90 a month for coaching. I mean, if you go and see a personal trainer, it's going to cost you way more than that in person. So there's a huge amount of value in a coach. And if you're confused, just take the plunge. I know it's a financial burden. I know you're going to have to live suboptimally in other areas of your life. But sometimes that's just what you have to do.
I completely agree. And just to add one more thing in there is a note. This is a note particularly to women out there. Like, stop fucking beating yourselves up. Like, I'm sick of seeing women beat the shit out of themselves. It's like, it's actually, girls, it's pretty pathetic. Like, take a good, long, hard look at yourself. And if you saw your best friend or a friend of yours doing to themselves what you're doing to yourself, what would you say to them? So instead of going down a route of, oh, I've got all of these problems and blah, 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 take a long, hard look at what you're doing and just stop. Give yourself a break. Learn to love yourself and just be kinder to yourself. It's really, that's what it's about. Just be a little bit kinder to yourself and give yourself a break. So that's my parting words.
And again, if you need someone external to tell you that, then that's what you're going to have to do. Right, let's wrap up the show. If you're in the UK and you're in Scotland and Ireland, then please log on to Body Type Nutrition and check out the Body Type Nutrition team is coming to Scotland and Ireland in May. To deliver our talks, May the 2nd and 3rd for Ireland and May the 23rd and 24th for Scotland. It's going to be an incredible event. It's very low cost comparative to all the other seminars that happen around the UK. And for anyone that does want to become a nutritional ninja, you can enroll in our academy, which will launch on April the 1st at 10 a.m. If you want to know more details about that, go to bodytypenutrition.co.uk and click on the tab labelled Academy, which is a 2-year personal trainer or just a nutritional geeks course. And if you want to check out Rachel, she's at theathleticfox.com. Right, I'm going to go and get some work done because I am soon to fly to Mexico for a break myself.
Where are you going? Mexico?
I'm going to Mexico, yeah, baby.
Nice. I'm getting on a plane tomorrow. I'm going to Switzerland. So I'm going to be skiing. I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to go skiing for a week. So this is one of my holidays. It's not really a mini holiday, but it's, I'm going on a bit of a break. I'm going to go see my family. So I'm looking forward to it. It's been 10 years since I skied. So fingers crossed I come back in one piece.
Nice. Awesome. Right, if you've enjoyed the show, do me the massive honour of leaving a review on iTunes or Stitcher, depending on where you listen. If you see the show on Facebook or Twitter, just do me the honour, hit like, comment, share it. Let's pull people in. Let's help people with this information. Because it's not going to get out any other way by you telling your friends and family about it. That's how this message gets spread. I will see you next week on the show. With a guest, and then me and Rachel, as standard, will be back on in 2 weeks' time. Rachel?
Ciao from me, and have a fabulous holiday.
You too, and that is ciao from me. Take care, everyone. Hey everyone, Ben Coomber Radio, episode number 126, I think. Another guest show. Me and Rachel are on the back burner. There's no Q&A. I've got a guest. The guest is someone that I have followed for quite a while on and off throughout the industry. He's been a man that's been instrumental in various different pockets of the fitness industry, doing some nice specialist things, and we're going to uncover those today.